Let's run that open.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. We hope it is good. Welcome to another edition of Geeks Who Like Sports. As always, I am Ray Carsillo in Shake, Rattle, and Roll in California. My best friend the entire world over in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Elias. Lee, how are you doing today?
Buddy, I'm glad that it's another day on this planet that we get to share together, even though California is doing everything it can to say to all of you, leave. The leaves are falling here in Pennsylvania, and fall has begun. It is my favorite time of the year here, Ray, because we are mere weeks away from all the sports leagues playing, MLB playoffs, NHL starting, NFL getting going, and the NBA beginning, and also the WNBA playoffs, which I am inserting into that realm, Ray, because it has become much-watched TV. So, Ray, I'm doing pretty good.
Excellent. Yeah, I'm happy. I'm glad you're enjoying the fall. It is finally, we have a little bit of respite here. It is only in the high 70s, low 80s again.
Wow, that's cold. That is cold.
Yeah, yes. Yeah. Although it's going to be back in the 90s next week.
Yes, because California's saying leave.
Yes. Third summer will
make
be
like
here.
A tree and leave.
Yeah.
Make like a tree and get out of here.
Yeah, all the leaves that are here are shaking. We've been having a lot of earthquakes lately, and most of them around 4 or 5 in the morning. So my sleep schedule is so much so that I'll be honest, folks.
The earthquakes work on an Eastern Standard schedule, just so you know.
Exactly.
Put up for work over here.
Yes. So I've been having a great deal of difficulty sleeping lately, including sleeping through his alarms this morning. But my good buddy Lee Elias, being very, very, very patient with his bum.
Look, we all love you here, Ray. I will tell you this. What's impressive for those of you listening, Ray really has been up for less than 25 minutes, and he just is able to snap into podcast mode, nail that open. But, Ray, I'm going to give you a little break here so you can gather your thoughts here if you want.
This is what I should have asked you for. I should have called you in the middle of the night and should be like, Lee, tell me a story. And maybe that would have gotten me to bed instead of staring at the ceiling for 4 hours. Last evening. Lee, you have something to share with our audience before we get into a very jam-packed show, folks. I mean, Lee's stories are always great, but we also have we got a lot of geek. We got Beetlejuice. We're gonna do our full in-depth review. We got football to talk about. But Lee, tell me a story.
Ray, I'm going to tell you a story. To do that, I need us to rewind back to the year 1994, probably around the same time it is right now, fall, maybe early winter, and a 10-year-old me, Ray, is heading to karate class. Not yet started playing hockey at this point in my life, believe it or not. I'm ice skating, but yeah, I'm going to, and it was karate, Kenpo karate class. I was probably someplace past a white belt at that point. But I went every other day at that point. It was a thing that I did. And Ray, in tow with me to karate class was one of my prized geek possessions. Now, when I say prized geek possessions, I want you all listening to understand that there are major decisions that have been made in my life because of this possession that I had with me that day. And Ray, I brought it in, took my class, and I went to leave, and it was gone. Someone had stolen it. It wasn't misplaced. This prized possession of mine was stolen, and it created this scar. And Ray, in the words of geekdom and sportsdom, one of my favorite shows, I have put right something that once went wrong in 1994, which is, by the way, 30 years ago today, basically what we're talking. That prized possession, Ray, was a set of X-Men cards mimicking Marvel masterpieces. And I was talking about that with my son, Logan, who's named after another person named Logan. We'll just say James Howlett, for those of you who know. And it inspired me, Ray, to go on eBay. And I have purchased the entire 150 card set, which I've also purchased a yellow and black card book separately to put my Fleer Ultra 1994 X-Men card collection, which I now have in full. It took me 30 years to earn enough money to buy these on eBay. For those of you wondering, it was not stupidly expensive. I don't want people to think I'm wasting my money here. But Ray, And again, yellow, for those of you not watching, it's a yellow and black notebook.
Yes.
It had to be. I had a lot of color
Yes.
options. It had to be Wolverine colors.
Yes.
I have the entire set of cards here. And what's cool, Ray, looking at it as an adult, not only do I remember these cards. Like there are cards that I opened here and I was like, wow, I really remember this. But it's organized so beautifully, Ray, that the way they did this is it's superheroes, supervillains, dead superheroes, ups, and there's a whole section at the end, which you will remember, of Wolverine versus section.
Yes.
Versus everybody. So as much as I'd love to take the time here to show you all 150 of these cards, and I will hint to you right now, Ray, there is a second set of cards that I have ordered. I also got Marvel Masterpieces from this same year because those were
amazing.
But I think just for the joy of it, Ray, we should pick a random card to celebrate this again, wrong that has now been righted. And I'm not going to tell you, man, I can't tell you enough. The nostalgia, the warm feeling that this brought to me. It might sound stupid, man, but this really healed the scar that I had.
Yeah.
I was the 10-year-old me. I was devastated, Ray. I think I cried. I was so upset that these were taken from me.
Yeah.
And you know what happened is like some kid just took him, didn't care, whatever. And I never fully got over that. I'm also blessed. This is one of the biggest scars in my life. Let's be honest about that.
Yeah.
But I have them here now. So Ray, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to flip the pages. You'll say stop, and I'll stop on that page. Let's do that first.
Stop.
Okay. Good page, Ray. Okay. And now stop again.
Stop.
Okay. Oh my goodness. Wow. You picked a good one. So this is a section of it. These are called trifolds. So it's 3 cards in a row that make one painting.
Oh yeah, those are great. Yeah.
I remember this one. You picked the wedding of Cyclops and Jean Grey right there. And for those of you, again, who don't remember this, there's 3 cards in this set. I'm throwing them right now. We're going to make a micro clip out of this.
Oh, yeah, it's their past and their future.
Yeah, and of course them in the present as well. So they all go together. I remember these cards. It's funny you stopped on that because I remember these, and I would look at these things for hours, Ray. But here they are in order. And what was cool, Ray, is I got to put these in the booklet with my son Logan and show him this Wolverine card and these Wolverine sets. And I said to him, Logan, I'm not going to lie to you. There's a really good chance you're named because of this card set, right? Because in the back, they've got, check this out. Wolverine versus Sabretooth, Wolverine versus Cyber, Wolverine versus Omega Red versus Hulk versus The Thing versus Spider-Man, which was a very tragic story for those of you who don't know it, versus Silver Samurai versus the Hellfire Club versus Cable versus Sauron versus the Punisher versus Lord Shingen, and Lady Deathstrike. You could just look at this page. And then again, they have original team members, dead team members. It's just really great. And I'm so happy that I have this in my possession, but I had to tell this on the show because our people are these people, right?
Yes. No, absolutely.
The sports side is while I was doing this, my son was putting his hockey cards into a binder as well. So it was a share.
That's phenomenal.
It was pretty cool, right? But maybe next week we'll share another card. But I just love looking at these, man. It's just cool that I have them again. And I will not ever be bringing these to karate again.
Yes, and nor should you. That actually reminds me a little bit of a similar story. Not quite with cards, but I'll remember it was my 5th birthday party. And this kid, Zeke, my mom, I was not a kid who liked to share because I didn't trust
Still
people.
Not someone who likes to share, but that's you share with me. I appreciate it.
Yes. You're one of the few I trust.
I'm not
and the reason why I don't trust people is because because people are dumb. And Zeke was a very good person. Don't get me wrong. And was a very good friend. But my mom was like, why don't you share your action figures? I'm like, no, because my action figures are very precious and very, very particular things they need to be taken care of. And she's like, well, I'm sure everybody will take good care of them. I'm like, I don't think you know my friends the way that I know my friends. Yeah. And then I'm 5 years old. And the first thing Zeke did was my Joker action figure, based on the Batman '89 film, was he took it and he went like this and the head popped off.
God.
And I cried and was traumatized and I grabbed all my figures. I collected them all from everybody. I said, no more. That's it. And 20 years later, went to a comic book shop and they had a set of Batman, Robin, because you have to remember there was also the DC superheroes. Even though Batman, there was the Batman 89 line and there was the DC superhero line. Batman, Robin, Penguin, the Hedgehog. I found a new Joker figure after 20 years. Similarly, it's true. It heals the scar. It's to the point where I completely forgot about this until you had brought up this somewhat similar situation. And I was like, yeah, for 20 years, I held on to Zeke breaking the Joker.
Is that short for Ezekiel?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. If you Ezekiel! So,
what's your name?
No, look, Tony! What's your name?
We can't do that full thing on the air.
No.
Give me back my X-Men Flair cards, Ezekiel.
Yes.
I'll just say this again. We are both acknowledging that we're very fortunate that these were big problems for us. But there were bigger problems in our lives at the time. But the young child that needed to be hugged found this. So Lee from Karate has found his crane kick.
Yes, I'm so happy. I'm legit happy.
I want to share them with you. It's cool to share them with my kids. And again, I'm fun sharing it with the audience. I'm having a good time sharing with the audience. So thank you all for listening to my story. It is that loop has been closed, and now we're ready for more scars. Yep.
Speaking of scars, we talk about the NFL Week 2 now. As we head into sports, boy, we have a lot to discuss. Where should we start? Let's start with the Carolina Panthers going on down to Carolina. Carolina looking awful. The Chargers looking fantastic. Partially they won week 1, but they're doing it old school. They're running the ball. They're playing hard-hitting defense. It's a Jim Harbaugh team. Justin Herbert, of course, doing Justin Herbert things, looking very good. But Carolina looks absolutely listless. They've scored, I believe, a combined total of 17 points through 2 games. And to the point where now the Panthers, just a lost organization. Again, folks, this is an organization that has 2 NFC championships in their history. Right, there are 4 teams that have never even been to the Super Bowl. The Panthers are not one of those teams. They've been to 2, even though they lost. And they've benched Bryce Young after 18 career games, the number 1 overall draft pick last year. They said he will be benched next week. Andy Dalton, the wily veteran, former Bengal, former Cowboy, he's been everywhere. Former Saint, I think. He will get the start next week for the Panthers. And Lee, I feel bad for Bryce Young because I think Bryce Young got thrown into the worst situation in football, and he has the least talented roster in football around him, and now he's going to probably sit behind Andy Dalton, who, by the way, as an old man, I hope he can run for his life because he is going to take some licks the next couple of weeks, I think. Lee, what are your thoughts about the situation in Carolina?
Well, first off, collect those paychecks sitting on the bench and don't feel too bad about it, buddy. I mean, that's one place you can be. But, I mean, look, it's a coaching decision probably to try and get the roster moving a little bit more than just the quarterback. I don't think this is so much on him as it is on just getting the team figuring something out. You got to make changes when things aren't working. Sometimes, though, it is quicksand, man. Nothing works. So this is one of those things we're going to have to see how it works. I mean, it's not crazy anymore to put an old quarterback in and have them succeed suddenly in this league anymore. And I think that's probably the way that they're thinking. Although that team does not look talented enough to turn the page. So we'll see what happens. It's one of those things of, it's like pulling a goaltender when the goaltender's not really playing that bad just to get the team to wake up. I kind of equate it to that.
Yeah, no, that's a good call. I mean, and again, I think that it's not Bryce's fault. Some folks are talking about how Bryce does have his confidence shattered because here's a guy who dominated in college, now obviously comes to the pros, and it hasn't been working for him. But it's not his fault. Yeah. Some folks have been like he might need a change of scenery the same way you've seen this a lot. Sam Darnold, we'll quickly jump now over to Minnesota. Probably the biggest upset of the weekend. The Vikings beat the Niners by 6, 23-17. Sam Darnold looking like a world beater the last couple of weeks. I mean, the Giants did not play great against him, but he did carve them up at one point, completing 12 straight passes. Then does the same to a even though the Niners offense is banged up, the Niners defense is still top notch, and they still hung 23 on them, which of course was enough to get the win. Justin Jefferson, a 97-yard touchdown pass, one of the prettiest touchdown passes and runs you'll see, at least so far here in the early year. And Sam Darnold suddenly looking like a guy that's like, yeah, the Jets sucked. Being part of the Jets was a terrible organization. I went to a couple of different places. I kind of regrouped and recovered my career, and now Sam Darnold is a serviceable starter, or at least he is right now for the Vikings, who are 2-0. One of the few teams that can say they're 2-0 right now at this point. Lee, what are your thoughts on Vikings-Niners?
Not seeing ghosts anymore, right?
Yes.
It's an interesting position, right? Like your personnel around you really does make a difference, right? And I for one, I'm happy to see this. He was always a capable quarterback, but you just talked about confidence. It's amazing what can happen when you start to get some confidence. And I think also, look, as football fans, especially of our age, we're spoiled. We grew up in a time of really amazing quarterbacks that just where Father Time was not getting them for the longest time. And they were always confident. At least they showed that outwardly. And I think you're seeing that, like, that's not that simple anymore, right? Like it's rotating a lot. Guys mature a little bit slower sometimes. I mean, yeah, you've got the Mahomes in the world, obviously. There's several guys that you can look at. I mean, I guess Dak would even be in that conversation somehow now. But it's interesting to see. What I like, Ray, is the parity. All right? Yeah. Like after week one, no, I mean, outside the Chiefs.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you could make an argument for New Orleans too right now, but like, who knows what's going to happen this year?
Yeah, no, this week in particular, this was a week where I personally have been making my own personal picks. I told you about this. In week 1, I went 11-5 in my picks. In week 2, I went 7-9, and mostly because of games that I would have considered upsets. A lot of upsets happened. Right? Like the Ravens are now 0-2. They lost to the Raiders. I didn't see that coming. The Jags continued to be – the Jags lost a very winnable game against Cleveland. I mean, look, Cleveland's defense is very stout, but also Trevor Lawrence, Mr. Hair of Samson, maybe should get a haircut because he is looking terrible. He is overthrowing everyone and everything. Again, we mentioned the Niners. The Cowboys. Again, you mentioned the Saints. The Cowboys got absolutely destroyed by New Orleans. I would never have expected – look, I expected New Orleans to be better this year, but I didn't expect this. They've scored in every possession, every single possession this year. They put up points. The offense looks unbelievable. And I knew Derek Carr still had gas left in the tank, but holy cow, he's got a whole reserve tank that came out of nowhere. Yeah, I mean, and even your Eagles last night on Monday Night Football lost the game that they really should have won. 22-21, and now suddenly the Eagles are 1-1, and the Falcons are 1-1.
It was very sudden. I mean, but it was a good football game, and we'll get to them in a minute. But yeah, look, I enjoy the parity in the NFL. Again, it's so hard to predict anything after 2 weeks. You know, you got to get several weeks into the season before people really start to see things. I don't like the season's over. Like, give me a break, dude. I've seen lots of starts that were horrible, and a team come back and win a Super Bowl. Ray, you've experienced that a couple of times as well.
Sure. I mean, my Giants went on the run to obviously win Super Bowl 42. The Giants started 0-2. We're going to get into the Giants in a second. We're 0-2 again this year. We're not going anywhere. We're not going anywhere. We're going to get into the Giants in a second. One last big NFL story, which is possibly the biggest one. This is one that's been talked about a lot before we get into our personal teams. Tua Tagovailoa. I can't say his name anymore.
You said it right.
Tua Tagovailoa for the Dolphins. This was a game I did call. I did call that the Bills were going to destroy the Dolphins because for a variety of reasons, the Bills play great for some reason on Thursday Night Football. I think the Bills are still a team that has something to prove, even with losing a lot of receivers.
Very much a Super Bowl caliber team.
Yeah, and Tua, for the fourth time in 5 years, his third is in the NFL. He also had one in Alabama. Just has his brain scrambled as he takes a terrible, terrible hit. It was initiated by Tua. Like, I mean, if you look at the hit, he ran into the defender. He was scrambling for a first down, and he just he got badly concussed again. And with everything we know about concussions now. A lot of folks around the league are saying he might want to consider retirement. I agree that, like, look, it may set the franchise back. You've made your money, dude. You got your mega contract. He has nothing to prove, in my opinion. He has to think about his family. He has to think about his future and the quality of life he wants going forward. I mean, it's different. Obviously, with a concussion, because like you'll feel better a week later or 2 weeks later, and forget it even happened. But then you're talking 10, 15, 20 years down the road where the real ramifications for this could crop up. And Lee, I mean, look, he's gonna have to make this decision on his own. I'm not calling for him to retire or whatever. Whatever he does, it has to be best for him. But boy, it looked bad, and with everything we know nowadays, Lee, it's gonna. I think a lot of folks are gonna be wondering how he could come back from this. What are your thoughts?
Well, my thoughts are this: without being a doctor, without knowing the official, diagnosis of exactly what's happened, take a year off, man. Take a year off, let your brain heal. Sidney Crosby, I'm a hockey guy, took a whole year off. People ridiculed him, called him weak, called him a schmuck, and he completely changed how we look at concussions. The guy's actually a hero, and I'm a Flyers fan saying that. Take a year off, see where your brain is at, and then make a decision. You don't have to retire tomorrow. At the same time, if you see him in the lineup next week, it's what are you doing? Right. The problem with the NFL is that, you said it right. They feel better. They get back a couple weeks off, take a year off and reassess. It is not worth it. I do not care if you're going for a Super Bowl or not. It is not worth it. Not worth your life. So, it's his decision to make. I'm sure he'll have medical experts. Hopefully they give him really good advice, but I don't see how he plays again this season. If he does, you're risking too much.
To me, I think at some point too, like you said, you have to, especially with it, you have to protect the player almost from themselves a little bit.
Take a year off. Take 1 year off. You should not be looking to play until week 3 of next season. Yeah. No, I would. That's actually, I think, a great, almost kind of like a compromise in the middle. Yeah, kind of most likely week 1, but just take a year off. Don't risk that.
Yeah, no, for sure. All right, so now going into our personal teams, I mentioned the Giants are 0-2. The Giants.
Brutal.
The Giants become the first team in history in regulation to score 3 touchdowns, not give up a touchdown, and still lose the game. The Giants, for those of you who don't know, Graham Gano, our starting kicker, our great kicker, said he had groin tightness throughout the week. The Giants did not decide to sign a backup kicker in the off chance that he could not go on Sunday. And on the opening kickoff against Washington, pulled his groin completely, removing him from the game because you kind of need your groin to do a lot in football. And the Giants, here's the thing. I also say this, by the way, the Giants looked better. The Giants always play Washington well. The only team that Daniel Jones, if Daniel Jones played a full season against the Commanders, Daniel Jones would be a Hall of Fame quarterback, right? The problem is that when he plays everybody else, he's completely dog awful, right? He is awful. And so the Giants played decent. Malik Neighbors, our rookie receiver, 10 catches, over 120 yards. Of course, a lot of people are like, he dropped a pass that would have sealed the game. It happens. It happens. In fact, funny enough, we're going to get into the Eagles. Somebody else dropped a pass that would have sealed the game. It happens. Other people need to step up. There were also a series of other plays. The Giants didn't convert any of their 2-point conversions, going for it without a kicker. The Giants, again, not having a backup kicker on roster, knowing that your starting kicker might not be able to go. There was a fumble on the previous drive that cut that drive short. There are a dozen different plays over the course of this game. Do not blame the rookie receiver for making a drop on the sideline, which, by the way, it was probably a 5 or a 6 on the 10 scale difficulty. If it's a 10, it wasn't the easiest catch. It wasn't the hardest. It wasn't the easiest catch. Also, you're not expecting Daniel Jones to put the ball where it's supposed to be. Because Daniel Jones is, in fact, Malik Neighbors has already hinted at how much he doesn't like playing with Daniel Jones. In fact, the locker room has already hinted at how much they hate Daniel Jones. The fan base hates Daniel Jones. The only one who likes Daniel Jones is John Mara, the owner, because he's an idiot. It's like Tepper down in Carolina taking Bryce Young when he should have taken C.J. Stroud. Anyway, it's not just on Neighbors, but the Giants, they score 18 points. They lose 21-18 as Washington gets 7 field goals.
7.
Yes.
7. That's insane.
Jaden Daniels had a very nice game. But again, credit where it's due. The Giants defense had 5 sacks. Again, anytime your defense holds an opponent to 21 points, you're at least going to be in the game. You probably win the game. Unfortunately, the Giants did not win the game. And now, looking ahead, I don't think the Giants win a game, speaking of Carolina, till they face Carolina in Germany. I think it's week 9. The Giants might start the season 0-8, folks. Don't bother watching, because I sure as heck won't.
Field goals are important. They're important. You can win a game on field goals.
Yes, if you only had the kicker. And then, Lee, speaking of drop passes, we move on down to Philadelphia.
Field goals, I said. We missed field goals. Yes, but Philadelphia, yes, we lost last night. Interesting plays. Obviously, everybody's talking about Saquon Barkley dropping the must-catch pass of the night to win the game, to ice the game. Ironically enough, Ray, I was not incorrect when we spoke last night. Apparently, when you score 3 touchdowns in the opener, you get a free week pass of everybody coming down on you and killing you. And Saquon also came out immediately and said, I need to catch that pass. I cost us the game. So he took complete responsibility for it. And again, I mean, like, the Philly faithful understand him and why he's here. And I think the collective attitude here is, yeah, okay. Just don't ever do that again, or we will be here. Again, everybody always likes to throw it on the last couple minutes of a game. The game was decided in the last couple minutes, and you've got to give Atlanta a lot of credit for marching down the field and winning that game. But I go back to it. I told you this last night when we spoke. We decided to go for it on 4th and 5 in the first quarter. You take that easy 3 points, you win the game easily. So it's the summation of a lot of things. I'm not even saying because we lost because of that. But the decision-making in this game sometimes boggles my mind. Especially, I don't like to give away points. If it was 4th and 1 and you're doing a tush push, yeah, sure. Okay. That's 100%. Part of the story. That tracks. But 4th and 5, you don't, what were we thinking? What were we thinking on that?
Yeah, no, you're seeing this from a lot of quote unquote younger coaches that they're like, well, the numbers say if we go for it, like, take the points.
Take the points. Like,
take
and again,
the points.
The Commanders are a perfect example of this. Of a team that took the points over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. I think I did 7 there, and they won.
Well, and again, I mean, we even go back to last year. If the Detroit Lions took the points, the Detroit Lions would have been the NFC champions last year. Like, there's a point where, gosh, sometimes you bite your nose to spite your face. I mean, it's one thing to have faith in your team, but take the points. And the football is a game that's 100 years old. You all keep trying to reinvent the wheel, and you really don't have to. You really, really don't. So, So again, the Eagles, I don't want to say you didn't play up to snuff. Like you said, your defense did not have a lot of pressure last night overall, especially on that last drive, played surprisingly soft. And then the Falcons ended up making the play they need to do at the end. So,
good on them. I don't want to take anything away from the Falcons. Like, again, we're not talking enough about how they marched down the field with 30 whatever seconds left in the game. I mean, like, you can't. That's not normal, right? That was a great performance. It deserves to be recognized as much as drop passes and missed field goals. I don't want to take anything away from Atlanta.
Yes, no, for sure. And a big win for Kirk Cousins, showing that he deserved at least some of that money he got in the offseason. As the Falcons improved to 1-1, another 1-1 team. But still very early. Anything can happen here in the NFL season. Very hard to make any predictions. But I blame the Eagles for me not going 500 in my picks this week.
That's fine. Anything to upset a Giants fan.
Anyway, staying in Philadelphia, we're going to move over to baseball now. This was a fun stat. Kyle Schwarber sets a record. Most leadoff home runs in a single season for the Phillies, the best record in baseball, Phillies. As folks, we're in the final 2 weeks of the season. We are in the home stretch for Major League Baseball. The Phillies, the first team to 90 wins. They are the only team that still has an outside chance of reaching 100 wins this year. It might be the first time, I think a decade, that we don't have a 100-win team in the season, as everybody's been kind of beating up on themselves, including the Yankees beating up on themselves. Because we're going to get to that in a second. But Kyle Schwarber, congratulations.
It's all right in front of us. Phrases from 2024.
Yes. I mean, it's the look, I've been saying for months, I'm sticking to it until otherwise. Baltimore versus Philadelphia. Philadelphia wins the World Series. I've been saying this over and over. Look,
Philadelphia is in a World Series or bust mode. They are not looking for anything other than a World Series victory. And they are very pissed off and ready to win. They are finding ways back in tough games. Obviously, they're playing above 500 right now. They're not playing as sharp as they did the first half of the season, if you will. But, I mean, that's not unheard of, right? It's late in the season. Teams want to win. Teams are fighting for their lives, right? And we're not coasting in any way. But they're not. There's not an extreme urgency right now like there will be in 2 weeks, like you said. But Schwarber has been unbelievable this year. The confidence that he's had. I mean, he was getting to a point, Ray, like what you think about walking him first up at bat, and there's still plenty of games left for him to keep doing this. But he has been fantastic. He came into this season in the best shape I've ever seen him. I mean, these guys are serious about winning, and they are such a fun team to watch. Also, want to give a shout out. We were down 4-0 in the Mets the other day, and they came back and won, and it was really fun to watch.
I mean, it's,
Mets fans, we got one. We got one of them. Yeah, you did. Way to go. All right. Enjoy that fight with Atlanta.
The Mets came back last night against Washington. They now have they have a 1-game lead over the Braves with 12 games to go for the final wild card spot. It'll be interesting. Sure. They play each other 3 more times. It'll be interesting to see there. We've said it again last
That's
week.
The race to watch. The Phillies' magic number is dropping, and they are like most likely going to win the division. I'll say at this point. But that Atlanta New York little rivalry there is going to be fun to watch toward the end.
Yeah, I mean that's really in my opinion, the last real thing to be decided, because look, Milwaukee is running away with the Central. You guys are running away with the East. The Dodgers will hold on for the West.
Yeah, right there.
Yeah. The only question is basically seeding for the wild cards. Is that like Padres and Diamondbacks keep flip flopping 4 and 5, and then who will win the 6th seed will be the Mets or the Braves. We're pulling for Atlanta.
We are, and I think it says a lot about Atlanta that they're even in the fight, considering
with so many injuries.
Yeah, so many injuries. The Mets are just kind of hanging around, and again, the Mets are holding on to Grimace and Hawk-Tua Girl and other things that are outside their control.
They do every gimmick they have, and then suddenly they go on a 10-game winning streak, and then they fall off again, and then they got to do a gimmick, and they get a 10-game winning streak.
Yeah, or it could just be your team's inconsistent, but we won't talk about that.
Been saying that the whole year. Very, 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 very inconsistent. But again, this is a team that started off, I think, red hot. Then they went 10-25, and they had the quote unquote Grimace run, and then they got ice cold again, and then it just happens to coincide with crazy promotions. But I think it's just a team that's very hot and cold. Speaking of hot and cold, my Yankees also now with a 3-game lead in the American League East have started to heat up at the right time to try to wrap
all right
up.
In front of them.
They are in Seattle tonight. I will say this, as much as I hate Aaron Boone, and again, this is a team that wins despite him. The Yankees got healthy finally, right? Clark Schmidt, one of our starters, is back. They finally called up Jason Dominguez. DJ LeMahieu, funny enough, him getting hurt is actually a good thing because he was a black hole in the lineup, and now they have to play Oswaldo Cabrera, and he's playing much better than LeMahieu was. John Birdie came back, which gives them depth off the bench. And suddenly it just feels like the team is getting the right guys are being sat, which is what I've been calling for the whole year. It's like, oh, you mean the young kids want to play? You mean the kids want to play hard and prove something? Oh my God, what a concept! And yeah, the Yankees' young kids are being led by the youth movement. Although if they don't win the World Series, the thing that will haunt the Yankees, of course, this whole year is Garrett Cole pointing at Rafael Devers of Boston going, basically giving him the most emphatic intentional walk in history that, of course, would lead to a 3-run Boston inning. The only game we lost to Boston this weekend, we took 3 of 4, was the game that Garrett Cole started. Garrett Cole looking very un-ace-like. I know a lot of Yankee fans think I'm crazy, but I don't think he will get the ball in game 1 of the playoffs, but I don't think Cole should get ball in game 1 of the playoffs. He doesn't look like an ace. He doesn't look like an ace. He doesn't look like it. He looks like a number 3 this year. Mind you, he is coming back from injury. He missed half the season. But Luis Gil, Clark Schmidt, young kids throwing fire right now, throwing gas. I don't know. To me, you go with your bet. To me, you got to stop worrying about egos, and you got to give yourself the best chance to win. And right now, Luis Gil and Clark Schmidt give you a better chance to win a game than Garrett Cole does, in my opinion. So,
good problem to have.
It is a good problem to have. You know who else has a problem? This was a crazy story. Last baseball story. Minnesota Twins released their 6th round pick from this year's draft, a catching prospect, because he admitted that he was tipping pitches to the hitters, telling them what was coming, because he wanted to lose so that he could have a nice long off season. He literally did this in the game that eliminated his minor league team from playoff contention. For those who don't know, right now the minor league season is obviously shorter than the regular season for the major league season. The minor league season playoffs are going on right now, so that then those would be wrapped up by the time the major league playoffs start. And the Twins catcher was like, yeah, I was tipping pitches because I wanted to go home. And so the Twins were like, you're a loser, and we're cutting you, and we are really mad that we wasted a 6th round pick on you, but good luck with your future endeavors. Lee, what are your thoughts? I'm really curious. What are your thoughts on a player basically admitting he threw the game so that he could go home and have a nice long off season and get some rest?
I think
Lee, what are your thoughts?
The word, I mean, he's a loser. I mean, that's definition of a loser, right? To me, right? Yeah. And the other thing I'd say too, Ray, is, you got to be a real idiot to get caught doing that too, right? Like that's the other side of this. Like you got caught doing something that's stupid, all right? Yeah. You should be out of the game permanently.
Yeah,
all right?
Well, it sounds like he will be.
Yeah, I hope he never gets signed. You can have a permanent offseason with an attitude like that. I understand, I do, the grind of minor league sports and being on a bus for hours. It's not as glamorous as being a pro baseball player or pro athlete. But man, I don't know. That deceiving your teammates like that.
Yeah. That's what you feel for.
The betrayal is unforgivable. I mean, like, it's one thing if you're playing horrible or you're not mentally in it. That happens, all right? It's not ideal, but it happens. But to betray your own team, that is an unforgivable sin in sports to me, and I hope he never plays again.
Yeah, I highly doubt he will. I mean, it was hard not to catch him, right? When you're a catcher, he's literally telling the hitters while he's catching fastball inside corner. Like he's literally just telling them, like, goodness gracious, like I holy cow! I mean, for a game that eliminates your team from playoff contention.
I mean, he's lucky they didn't beat the hell out of him, and they still. I mean, if he ever gets up to bat again, he's going to get hit every time.
Well, I mean, again, though, like you said, they cut him. They immediately released him, and now the season's over. So he might be. Yeah. He might just go. I don't know. I don't know. Like, look, if you've lost your love for the game, it happens.
Yeah.
But to your point, you cost your team. You cost 24 other guys on that roster, 25 other guys on that roster,
all trying to make it. Not to mention the pitchers.
Yep.
That you were given the call.
Screwing over whose ERA is now bloated because they were getting teed off on.
Yeah, that's just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. You're probably going to end up on the away team against the Savannah Bananas. That's where you belong.
Yep. Have fun. Yeah. So you know who had fun this week?
I do, because I have the rundown in front of me that tells me the next topic. So
yes. Roberto Luongo, one of the greatest goalies of all time,
easily
answered a beer league ad on Facebook. They were desperately looking for a goalie for their championship game. And could you imagine, while you're in the locker room, you're like, oh, who's going to answer the ad? And in walks Roberto Luongo. And he's like, hey, guys, I heard you need a goalie. They would, of course, win 4-2. Which, by the way, even though he had 2 goals, the guys who scored the 2 goals on him had to feel like amazing. Lee, this is just a fun story all around. Roberto Luongo enjoying his retirement, I think, more than anybody else, and is now a beer league champion.
Yeah, but, I think what's even funner is he had to have responded to somebody, and I would have liked to see the guy's face where it's like, okay, really? Roberto Luongo? Yeah. No, it's me. I just won a Stanley Cup as an administrator for the Florida Panthers. I would like to get in the net again. It's a fun story. It's great. I mean, look, there was some guys on the losing team going, this isn't fair.
Yeah.
At the same time, you're part of a little bit of hockey history here now, I guess. But it's all in fun, and that honestly, that's what beer league should be. I think you're right. The fact you put up 2 goals is pretty amazing. Yeah. But look, it's fun. In fact, it's going to inspire our mashup this week, Ray, where we discuss what other pro athlete would you like to see in a beer league scenario. You're finding about that for the first time. But it's just a fun story. I mean, and again, look, if the other team feels that was really that unfair, which it totally is, schedule another game, schedule a rematch and play again. But a good on Roberto Luongo that's always been his personality. Little old Strombone, as he's known of as on Twitter, which we can't discuss what that means. But yeah, he's out there.
Yeah, no, for sure. And good on him. A lot of fun. You know who will not be out there for at least 2 more years?
Who?
Sidney Crosby.
Yep.
Sidney Crosby signs.
And by out there, you mean beer league? Yes.
Yes, yeah. He signed a 2-year extension to obviously finish his career, obviously, with the Penguins. So this will take him to his age 40. Crosby, of course, obsessed with the numbers 8 and 7, obsessed with 87. He was born on August 7th, 1987, which is why he wears 87. So he signs a 2-year deal at $8.7 million a year, which is a pay cut for him and is going to help Pittsburgh with the cap and possibly continue to try make one last run with Crosby there, wearing the C, to try to make a run towards the cup. I don't think they will, but obviously this is what winners do. They take a little bit of less money to help the team out because it's not like Crosby needs any more at this point of his life. He's done everything and anything and everything you can think of in hockey, Crosby has done. And he just wants to finish his career with the Penguins and maybe be competitive here down the home stretch. Lee, what are your thoughts about Sid the Kid, who's no longer a kid, taking a 2-year extension with the Pens?
Yeah, my favorite part about this story is him just doing an interview is saying, they asked him why the pay cut. He goes, well, I want to win, and I want to get players here to win. It's the way I've always been, and he's not wrong, all right? Yeah. He's never been infatuated with being the highest paid player in the game. Now, I will say, too, that we've talked about guys like McDavid not doing that. McDavid's at a different point of his career. McDavid's at the cash-in time of his career, as he should be doing. Crosby's at a point, as you alluded to, Ray, that he can take a little bit of a pay cut. He's fine. Yeah. But look, you love to see this kind of dedication to the team. He has always been a tremendous role model. And I want to say this, too, that, look, I'm a Flyers fan. I'm a hockey fan first, Flyers fan second. And so Sidney Crosby has not always been my favorite athlete to watch my team play against for obvious reasons. But him, Ovechkin, these guys are getting to the twilight of their career. And as I've said before on the show, it's just like Tom Brady and several other people, you need to relax and enjoy these guys while they're still in the league, still performing. Ovechkin going for that goal record, Crosby fighting time, still an amazing, tremendous hockey player, by the way. He's not showing too many signs of slowing down. He's very much like LeBron James in this situation. He's not what he was when he was 27, all right, but he's also one of the best players in the league still at 37, 38. So enjoy these guys in the league while you can. They won't be there forever. And I applaud him for putting his team first. That's, again, from day one till his retirement, that has always been him. And I have a lot of respect for that. It's the time of the career, though. It's the anchor man. It's like, I hate you with every fiber of my being, but God damn it, do I respect you? And that's where we're
100%. Same as a Rangers fan here. Obviously, it's a respect hate kind of thing for Sid the Kid, kind of both looking forward to him retiring so he stops scoring against my team, but at the same time also appreciating everything he's done for the game while he has been playing the game.
Well, I'm looking forward to him retiring. It's the Brodeur paradox. I remember telling all the Devils fans that when he retires, you're going to have a hard time. No, this, no, that. Yeah, you guys have had a pretty hard time.
Although next year I think they're going to be a legit threat because now they got Markstrom from Calgary.
They are now, yes, but it's many years removed from Brodeur.
Yeah, it's been over a decade.
Yeah, so. It is the appropriate amount of time for a team to rebuild itself. But the funny thing is, we said, that was the best goalie in the world in a lot of ways. You only get that once. Sidney Crosby is a generational talent. You don't get that every day unless you're Pittsburgh. Apparently, you do get Lemieux and then Crosby back to back. Which doesn't make sense.
And had Yager there for a long time.
You had Yager, you had a string of goaltenders, and you won 3 cups in 4 tries. So there's nothing to complain about, Pittsburgh. Nothing.
No, unless you're talking about baseball, then you can complain. But
you can complain about baseball. I agree with that 100%.
Yeah. But you guys have football and hockey dynasties out the wazoo. Anyway. But yeah, so good for them. So we talk about somebody in the twilight of their career. Now we talk to somebody in the bright young beginnings of their career.
Rookie
year.
Yeah.
Somebody who we're going to watch for a very long time. Caitlyn Clark continuing to set records. Caitlyn Clark breaks the single game scoring record for a rookie.
Do you hear that? Do you hear that? I don't hear those haters too much anymore. They've all seemed to shut the hell up.
Yes.
It's fun.
Yeah. In fact, I've actually heard some of them apologize in recent weeks.
I was wrong that she was really great. Yeah, okay.
Yep.
This one was an obvious one, guys.
So Caitlyn Clark dropped 35 the other day, which breaks Cheryl Swoops' record of 34 points in the game as a rookie. and Caitlyn Clark. As Indiana, by the way, continuing to climb the standings. Indiana right now sits with 1 game left in the season, sits as the 6th seed. And actually, yes, they cannot go higher, they cannot go lower. They are locked in now as the 6th seed. But yeah, she's led the Fever to the playoffs. Playoffs, yes, playoffs. They will play Connecticut in the first round as we are wrapping up. Only one team left to determine. There's a 3-way tie for the 8th seed with 2 games to go. Washington, Chicago, who I pick will probably lose now that Angel Reese is out for the year, and Atlanta are all tied in a 3-way tie for the 8th seed in the WNBA. The playoffs start next week for the WNBA, and that should be fun to see. As also, by the way, starting at the same time as their playoffs begin, hockey's preseason will start.
Yep.
So we got a lot of stuff going on here. It's the best time of the year, folks. All the sports are clicking on all cylinders. But Lee, what do you expect? As much as Caitlyn Clark has been great, I kind of expect it kind of almost be like Jordan's first year, where they didn't do anything in the playoffs. I don't expect Connecticut to lose to Indiana.
I don't know, Ray. I'll tell you why. Because they're heating up right now, and they're really only in 6th because of I would call it a slow start. Yeah, a below average start. So I'm not expecting them to win the WNBA championship, although I wouldn't say that's a crazy thought that they could compete for it. If again, I'm not saying they're going to get there. What I'm saying is, like, I'm not saying there's no way they can win, right? But when you're firing on all cylinders, like you said, this late in the season, a hot team can win and go through. All right, and if they get hot, it's going to be really interesting. And again, you've noticed that the attention now in the league is not Caitlyn Clark is a horrible person, which was ridiculous. The attention is, wow, this is really great basketball. So I'm actually looking forward to watching this. And there's going to be people, see, she didn't win the WNBA championship. I'm like, okay, that was the greatest rookie season we've ever seen. There was talk about her and Angel Reese for Rookie of the Year, which I never thought was a close competition.
Me either.
She's going to be Rookie of the Year. If they somehow screw that up, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, no, for sure. But great on Caitlyn Clark continuing to set records.
Awesome.
Carrying the carrying Indiana, the Indiana Fever to the 6th seed.
She did it
again. A team that was the worst team in the league last year, and she turned it around super quick.
The heckling, the stuff that she endured at the start of the season, which really was kind of ridiculous.
Yeah,
and she was professional the whole way through. Not that Angel Reese wasn't; she was as well. Amazing to watch.
Jordan, as she took names.
She took names and receipts, and she will be paying them back the rest of her career. And wait till that team comes back next season, fully surrounded with people to support her.
Yeah, because now the team's only going to get better, and free agents, people are going to want to go to Indiana and play with her because that's
why wouldn't you?
Yep, exactly. So, going to be interesting to see there. Lee, we got a lot of other stuff starting this week too. Agatha All Along starts this week. And we will be breaking that down week by week. But it is also spooky season. As by the way, your boy just got the last pieces of his Halloween costume. Cannot wait.
Oh, I know what it is, but I'm not telling anybody.
Nope. It's gonna be a surprise.
It's a surprise, but you will all be surprised in a very positive way.
I think so. Lee, you saw Beetlejuice 2.
Beetlejuice.
Beetlejuice.
That is not an active film. Yes, I did see that film. Yes.
So Beetlejuice this week, and then we can do our full breakdown, our spoilers alert. Spoiler. It's been out for a week and a half, but we got our full review. Lee, I liked it. I said it last week. I liked it, but it was fine. Right, it's hard to live up to.
I would upgrade it from fine. It was fun. It was a very fun film. I don't want to say it was fine. Like, fine is a movie I leave. I'm like, all right, I'll forget that. This was fun. I'm not going to forget what I saw. No. I enjoyed it. It was a fun film.
Yeah, I think the problem is that the original Beetlejuice was so original.
Yeah.
And so artistic and kind of groundbreaking in a lot of ways that to live up to that. Right. I think it's hard where it still has that tone and it still has that tenor and it still has that artisticness to it and off the wall zaniness and very creative. But you're expecting it now because of the first film. So I think it doesn't have that charm or not even charm, but that it's not shiny and new. Right. Like the original was.
I will give you a perfect review right now in one phrase. It was like visiting an old friend.
Mm-hmm.
Happy to see them. It was an enjoyable time. You had dinner or popcorn in this case together, and then you parted ways, possibly maybe to see each other in the future, maybe not. But you got to spend some time with an old friend, and it felt good.
Yeah.
Tell me that's not a perfect review for that film.
No, it is. It's a great. It is great. I mean, look, I feel that it was a little almost chaotic at times, which almost kind of makes sense because you have instead of having like two conflicting stories, like in the first one you have three this time, where you have Astrid's story, which is the Jenna Ortega character, you have Lydia's story, and then you have obviously Beetlejuice and his Beetlejuice running away from his. We also got Beetlejuice's origin. Lee,
which was great.
What were your thoughts on getting the origin story of Beetlejuice?
Well, I love that it was the Black Plague. I love that he was a grave robber. I mean, it's perfect. It tracks with every theory we've ever had. And I love that his ex-wife was also a murderer maniac. Like, it all tracks. It was all perfect. What it did really well, Ray, and again, some of our younger listeners might not realize this, you didn't get a lot of backstory in the 80s. You didn't. No. You just kind of followed along. In fact, there's some jokes made by Astrid in the film when they're on the moons of Saturn. She's like, so wait, sandworms live on the moons of Saturn? And Lydia goes, yeah. She goes, man, this is so random. Like, there's a little bit of commentary there. Like, but that you didn't have to explain everything, and people were okay with that. You didn't have to explain where the Joker was from. You didn't have to explain things like that back then. So this had that of like, no, here's three stories. They're fun. Enjoy them.
Yes.
Enjoy the film. And again, him running from his ex-wife, chaotic goes with the zaniness of the zaniness, of the film. Astrid's story was the only one I thought was mildly predictable. When she was riding her bike in that scene, for those who haven't, we said spoiler. She hits her head basically, and you're like, okay, well, that's a near-death experience. And then she suddenly sees someone. Yeah. I started getting in my mind of, oh, okay. Now, what jarred me, was I started doing the math in theater of when this, I forgot his name already. He died. And I'm like, this dude is my age. This dude went to high school to say he's 40. He's my age. Yeah. And I'm watching this like this. It's me in high school. Guy has hair and everything. He listens to the same music I listen to, but he'd be 40 now, and he's actually a maniac in the film. But
he's trapped.
I love the way
I feel like he was. I feel like that was almost a little bit rushed for sure. Yeah. But it had to be. I do appreciate that. Again, folks, spoiler alert, Beetlejuice stays true to his word, and he helps save Astrid in a very convenient way there at the Afterlife immigration office.
Question. Has Beetlejuice ever lied?
No.
I don't think he ever lied.
He's very devilish or genie like, where like he'll take some liberties with the interpretation of something.
But I don't recall him ever lying.
She signed a contract, and he said it to the letter of the law, and he did indeed. It was Beetlejuice who ends up saving Astrid there at the very last second.
With the F-bomb, the classic F-bomb that he can only drop one in the movie. The other one got bleeped out, which was also kind of funny. A little bit of fourth wall breaks. But we should make that a micro clip, Ray, because I think it's a good point. I don't think Beetlejuice ever lies in either film. I think he manipulates to get what he wants, but I don't think he ever told a lie in either film.
Yeah, no, I think that's true. And then I think
by the way, sorry. I hoped that his monologue from the first film, Tend to Juilliard, lived through the Black Plague. I hoped all of that was true. And
you mentioned we know now he did live through the Black Plague, and he loved every second of it until the very end. Which, like you said, it made sense that him and his wife basically would kill each other on their wedding night.
Totally makes sense. Yeah. So I really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. I'm glad I saw it in the theater. It was a nice kind of afternoon off. You don't have to see it in the theater. Like as you said last week, you could watch it at home. You'll still enjoy it.
Yes.
It's also a film, though, I'm not going to watch 15 times, right? No. I saw it. I might watch it one more time on TV, and then we'll
look for little nods and things here. Again, I also appreciated all the smaller roles. I like the Danny DeVito cameo.
Oh, brilliant. And again, like you and I thought the same thing right away with, there's the Penguin Batman connection right there, which is really cool. So I enjoyed that too.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, Burton has in a lot of his films, Big Fish too. He tries to get Danny DeVito. Tim Burton, like everybody in Hollywood, takes care of his friends.
He does,
or lovers. That's why Helena Bonham Carter was in a lot of his films, and then they broke up, and now he's dating Monica Bellucci. And hey, look, Monica Bellucci is now in the Beetlejuice film. So, but and then Willem Dafoe's character, I thought was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
As the actor who played a cop, an action cop, and then did all his own stunts, which led to his death. Yeah. And now he still thinks he's a cop, or sort of thinks he's a cop.
Who knew that grenade was live?
Yeah. Yeah. Just really a lot of fun little things throughout. Also, how they handled the understandably disgraced Jeffrey Jones, where basically he's just a walking torso because he has his head bit off. Because he's a bad man. This way you can say, look, the character's still there. And also, by the way, I love at the end when he's finally reunited with Catherine O'Hara's Delia, and she's looking at the decapitated torso of her husband, and she gets like a snake bite, which kills her, folks. And she's like, look at what happened to me. Yeah. It just
on the Soul Train, the other great part.
On the Soul Train, the
70s dance party.
Perfect. Yeah. So
well done.
I mean, that pun was a little on the head. That was the one thing, that pun was a little on the head for me.
Hide it though, and I loved it. That's what that's like. No, yeah, okay. This is the Soul Train, which is a very popular show in the 70s for those who don't know. And then it ended well. No post-screen credits because that's not what he does. No post-film credits.
The only thing was you had like a little cast review there, and then it said, and you know, in honor of Bob, 13/21 to 2024.
Yeah, it was well done too.
Yeah,
Bob will not be forgotten.
No,
go see it if you don't know what we're talking about.
Yeah, Bob's one of the little shrunken head guys. But anyway, so it was fun. It was fun.
It was fun. Imagine that. A fun film.
Yes. But yeah, good. A lot of good there. It's just, and it also still feels like there's so much of that world you could still explore.
Well, yeah. Look, we talked about this. There's no clear third film introduced in any way, but it's definitely open if they want to do a third film, which they probably should not do. But this was good.
And also, by the way, Michael Keaton, amazing as always.
Fantastic. He didn't miss a beat. I mean, he's Beetlejuice. That's there you go. He's Beetlejuice again. And then I do want to give one more shout out to the big musical number at the end. It wouldn't have been complete without another musical number.
Yes.
MacArthur Park is the song.
The use of music in this film again, of classic music, of music that you might not have even heard. Now Tragedy from the Bee Gees, I think, is the number one song in the country now because of this film, and like understandably, like it's a song I never even heard of. I'm not a big disco guy.
But there's a lot of 70s influences in this film.
Yes,
including
100%.
MacArthur Park at the end, which was another great dance scene.
Which of course is sung by Dumbledore from Harry Potter.
Is it?
The guy who sings MacArthur Park played Dumbledore. Yeah,
that's fantastic.
Richard Gambon or something like.
Anyway, it was fantastic. They had a fun time, and again,
Michael Gambon. Yeah, Michael Gambon. That's what I meant. I was close. But yeah. Anyway, moving on. Now that I've looked at completely derailed myself by going to Google. The Google screwed me up. But anyway, no, it was a great film. A lot of fun. You know who's going to be having more fun? WWE wrestlers. This is actually a big deal. This is something that TKO now owns WWE. Obviously, this is after they went public a few years ago and all that other stuff. And TKO's announced last year they're going to start cutting live events, and they now announced this year they're going to be cutting more. It used to be that wrestlers would be on the road 300 days out of the year, 300 out of 365, folks. That's a lot. That is a lot to be on the road for.
It's a lot.
Yeah. And so last year they started announcing they cut 50 of these live events. These are events where they're doing shows. And it's not televised, but they go from town to town. They do live shows. And TKO announced that next year they're going to cut another 50. They're going to get down to 200 days. They might start doing more. They start to see this. You might get a little more couple more premium events this year, right? Where you're getting maybe a premium event every 3 weeks, but where the day-to-day grind to keep the wrestlers fresh, to keep the wrestlers happy, and also the fact that these live events were, as they were described, marginally profitable, right? They're like, we are not going to sacrifice our people's health and happiness for the slimmest of profits, which is a refreshing take, honestly, in any industry at this point.
Agreed.
And that basically they called the live events and the schedule kind of a relic of the Vince era. He had obviously. It
was the success of the Vince era in a lot of ways, but it's not needed anymore.
Well, and that's the thing, right? That was great when WWE was growing, right? But now TKO's like, WWE is a $1 bajillion business. We don't need to grow. We're going to keep growing,
But there's other
we don't
ways to
need-
grow too. This is not the old
Yes.
television era. There's 365 coverage now all the time.
Yes, we have TikTok and YouTube and all this other stuff. We don't need to be in your town tomorrow or on Sunday doing a show at the Armory. And so this was great to see this was a great announcement from TKO and good on WWE. Even though they're coming back on everything, they cut Raw from 3 hours to 2 hours again. They said that's going to start happening soon, and the roster's getting bigger, but now they're going to have less airtime. Curious to see how it all shakes out and balances out in the end, but.
Well, I want to say it again. It says they're cutting down on marginally profitable live events, which also means it will create room for more profitable events should they want, right? And that we don't do pay-per-views per se too much anymore in that way, but you could do more of those. You could do a lot of new things to get more wrestlers involved.
Yeah. No, it's going to be interesting to see how they go forward with this. But this is great. This is great news. So
yeah, good on
WWE.
They're making a lot of right moves after a huge wrong.
Yes. And actually, there are rumors, by the way, speaking of a lot of showing you how popular wrestling is right now, there's rumors that AEW is going to sign a 4-year, $175 million deal with Warner Brothers. And that's going to get announced any day now. That has been the rumor mill now, that basically AEW, despite their live attendance being down, the TV numbers are still so good that Warner Brothers is going to give them a heck of a lot of money to stay on Warner Brother television.
Sounds like a Warner Brothers move.
Yeah. I mean, they're like, we lost basketball. Keep wrestling, which would never have happened, by the way, in the way back when. But curious to see the details of that deal. That is in the rumor mill right now. Nothing official though. That is in the rumor mill. So, moving on to I beat Star Wars this week.
We know. I want you to share with the listeners about your 1-minute review of this game.
So, Star Wars Outlaws, I feel, does it have bugs? Yes. But is it also one of the most beautiful games I've played in quite a while? 100% yes. The worlds are fully fleshed out and realized. I think the characters have a great arc. Even if the basic plot is a little bit paint by numbers, it's like, all right, we're going to put a team together and we're going to do a heist in the biggest casino on the casino planet in Star Wars, right? Kind of basic, but you're scoundrels. I love the time period. I love Kay Vess as a character. I like the gameplay. Again, a little complicated. The user interface could have used some tweaks. I think the user interface is your Nix, who's your little companion. There's a lot that he can do to the point where sometimes holding just one button and then giving me a list of options of things he can do was a little harrowing at times. But exploring the worlds, living in Star Wars for 40 hours. It'd be 40 hours to beat the game to the point where I felt good. The space combat was phenomenal. World exploration was great. It's a beautiful game. It's well acted. Even spoiler alert, Vader appearing was phenomenal. I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 10.
It's pretty good.
It's pretty good. It's not game of the year, but it was pretty good. I definitely think if you're not going to get it for full price, folks, I definitely would recommend getting it when it goes on sale. It will eventually go on sale. I will say this is a must-play on sale game, but if you're a Star Wars nut like me, if you haven't jumped on this game, what are you waiting for? So
we were waiting for Ray's 1-minute review, brought to you by Lee, his best friend.
Yes. Yeah, no, it was a lot of fun. A lot of fun. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. And again, check out my Instagram and what I've been putting up screenshots of just how beautiful the game is. And it's a very, very pretty game. And now I've moved on to Space Marine 2, which is sort of a pretty game, but it's very, very dark. Warhammer 40K, not exactly a bastion of hope and whatnot.
No, but Henry Cavill likes it, so there's that.
Yeah. I think, honestly, this is my first experience with Warhammer, and the fact that he likes it as much as he does, I think says a lot more about him than I think we realize, because even I'm like, this is dark, man. This is dark and gritty and pessimistic and holy cow. And you were Superman? Wow. Okay. Anyway, a little bit of bad news before we wrap up here in the show in the video game industry. A lot of layoffs again, folks. For games doing as well as they are in terms of sales and whatnot. I mean, I get this is I've been part of a merger. I've seen between major companies. We talked about it, how Microsoft laid off almost 2,000 folks when they merged with Activision. They are not done. They announced another 650 layoffs this week. It's just a lot of people. And again, there's redundancies and whatnot. And they're trying to, I mean, look, he was a $68 billion deal. They got to start recouping those losses somehow. And this is going to make investors happy, but it makes a lot of people very unhappy. And it's hard to, we talk about WWE investing in their people and long-term happiness and growth and health. And this is the exact opposite of what the video game industry is doing right now. And it is a bad sign. In fact, to the point where it's not only just bad that even people who have their jobs are resigning now. Annapurna Interactive, who has been a bastion for the independent scene, under Megan Ellison, who was the CEO of Annapurna in general. They were talking about spinning off their video game division. The talks fell apart. So the entire staff resigned. They say we would rather be unemployed than continue to work for you and your company.
Wow. That's devastating.
It is a harrowing time right now in terms of the people in the gaming industry that brings us this amazing entertainment and so much fun. And yeah, I mean, my heart goes out to them. I, of course, still in the same boat. I've been unemployed now for 9 months. Just had my 9-month anniversary of being unemployed. And it is a tough time in games right now, folks. And there are those of us, we want to work, and there's just no work to be had.
Yeah.
And it's
brutal, right?
It is a tough time. It is a tough time right now. So
yeah, you don't wish for that for any industry, buddy. And like I said, they will get back on its feet again, but it's when leadership decides that that's going to happen. I hope that happens.
Yeah, like Nintendo. Gosh, everybody at Nintendo seems thrilled and happy, and they're like, what's going on in America? Why is all this stuff happening? And Europe, too. It's not just America. It's Europe, too. But and also in Japan, because Sony's doing the same thing. Nintendo's the only ones who are like, we're thriving. Everybody here's happy. No layoffs at Nintendo. Or if they have been minuscule compared to the rest of the industry. I don't want to just do that blanket statement because I'm sure there might be some folks who have lost their jobs, but it's not like the hundreds or thousands being laid off across the board. I'm sure it's only going to get better when we hear about the Super Nintendo Switch, which any day now, any day you want to tell us about the Nintendo, any day.
They will when they're ready. That's why they're not laying people off.
Yeah, it's also true. But Lee, we did it.
We did it.
We did
got
it.
There.
Courtesy of Celsius. Getting me going. There's our quick non-sponsor of the week. Great show again, buddy. We did it. We landed the plane.
You don't know what to do now. It's like,
I'm like, we're done. We're done. Yeah. We did it. I got so much energy now.
You could go on. Make sure you listen this Saturday when we unveil the mashup. What pro athlete would you like to see in a beer league format? We're gonna have a lot of fun with that. But
yes,
Ray soldiered through this show just over an hour. Wonderful show, wonderful time. Love doing this. Thank you for listening to my story.
Of course, buddy. No, it was great. That's a great story. It's great to hear. And as somebody who's gone through similar things, it is, guys, you don't realize how much that's a hole in your heart that you don't realize you've had. Because again, it's not just that it's you were wronged by somebody.
I was wrong. I didn't deserve that.
And that sticks with you. Like
there were worse atrocities. I think it was maybe the first time in my life that something like that had happened. Right. I've had stuff stolen afterwards, but I just really remember I really cared about these things. And it's when you realize life's not fair. But you work hard. You too can get yourself a collection of the Fleer 94 Ultra X-Men edition. Or you could just follow me on the internet.
Yes. And you know what's not fair? Also is not fair is that the show is over now.
Oh,
so we'll be back. We will be back next week, though. And like Lee said, be sure to stay tuned Saturday for the mashup. But until then, for Lee, I'm Ray. This has been another edition of Geeks Who Like Sports. See you next week, everybody, for Saturday for the matchup.